Hey guys, before we get into the main video where I'm going to carry on and ramble, if you don't want to watch all that and hear all the conversation, I just want to give you the hot points, the hit points, the set list up front, and you can decide if you want to listen to the conversation about some of these more in depth and my experiences. But here are the basic resources that I'm going to put in the description, where you can find free camping or cheap camping or both. And that is one, the government resources, so Forest Service, national forests, state forests, the BLM organization, part of the federal government, the Bureau of Land Management, also has free lands for camping. We can also touch on the Army Corps of Engineers and some of the apps that I didn't for some reason mention, but you know what it is, I've recorded this thing 5 times and I forgot to mention it this last run. Apps that I use. I don't use a lot, but I like to use Campendium. That gives you RV spots, it gives you free, forest campgrounds, paid campgrounds. It gives you a lot of good information. I use that on the road quite a bit. I also use, I know a lot of people use Overlander, which is for four-wheeling and Jeeps and Overlander guys. I have never used that too much, but I hear it's very good, so that's something you might want to check. And then there's a free website that I think is still in action. It's a community-driven thing. I don't know who created it, but it's been around forever. It's called freecampsites.net. So check that out, where you can get a review of somebody who's one of us that's gone there and said, hey, it says you can find and you can search a map on there with actual longitude and latitude location. It says that there's, in the next town coming up, there's a free spot where you can pull in and sleep at the Walmart, or you can sleep at the ride share, or you can sleep at the, rest stop or whatever. And it's clean and it's cool. I stayed there last night and it's cool. Or it's not. Hey, I've tried to stay there last night and it's full of homeless people and you can't sleep there anymore. Or the cops won't let you sleep there anymore. And anyway, there's a lot of great info on that because it's kind of actual real data from people doing it. Boondocking and van life people. It's very similar to the methodology of thru hikers and Gut Hook or Way Out or whatever it's called now, the app. You are on this community together, and somebody gets up ahead of you on the trail. They stopped at the shelter, and then they post something the next day. Hey, I stayed at this shelter last night. It's flooded. Don't go there. Or hey, this place is awesome. There's a restaurant to the right. Take a right. So freecampsites.net is another great one. It's a great one. And the obvious ones like Google and Apple Maps and Google Maps. Waze is another good app that just has basic, rest stops, truck stops, gas stations, things like that. So there's a lot of good info there. These are the things that I either touched on in this video in more depth or I forgot to mention. So there you go. If you're one of these people that wants the information quick, I'm going to try to do that at the front of every video. Kind of makes watching the video pointless. No, I think, if you want to hear more conversation about it, I'm a talker. But I also know sometimes I get to videos that I don't want to hear any of that. I just want the points, hot points. Like you'll see in the comments, somebody will do this for me. But there you go. That's the hot points for the video. I hope you could take time to listen to the rest of it when you get time. Here we go. Well, hello there, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sean with Nomadic Recovery. Thank you for checking in on another video of mine. Nomadic Recovery is about just that, being a nomad at heart, recovering from alcohol in my personal situation, and just recovering from life, through reconnecting to nature. So that's really what my focus is. I find that is important for everybody, whether they realize it or not. And I have spent the last 12 years, off and on, probably 5 or 6 of those years, living the van life and being a nomad and hiking. And there's been periods of time where I've had to stop and get some work done and make some cash. I became a insurance adjuster and chased storms for several years. I really have about 7 or 8 years in that, so I'm not doing that this year, but I was doing that full time up until last year. And so I had to come off the road to do that. but also that is a road job where you get sent here and you get sent there. So it fit my wanting to explore nomadic tendencies. And so whether I'm hiking, looking for places to hike, I love to do long distance hiking or any hiking, but I love the west of the country. I was raised in Idaho, North Idaho near Canada, so I kind of have a leaning towards that already, and reconnected with that, about 12 years ago when I just got done with the gigs and grinding and drinking and tired and never had enough money to get to the next month. And I just had a moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore. How can I get my bills down and get out of this prison of constant check to check grinding outside in this Florida heat, and do something with my life different than this, and be reborn. And I knew I had to get out of town, but it costs money. So I found a guy on YouTube called Nomadic Fanatic. Many of you may already know him, but if you don't, his name's Eric. I don't know him personally, but his videos and his journey, his adventure of his life was very similar to what I was going through. And he had done it and was living on the road and finding ways to camp for free and cheap, and finding ways to make YouTube into a profitable channel so that it could fund his travels. And I was like, okay, if that guy can do it, that's what I got to do. Now, I'm not going to say that I've done what Eric's done, because, he's been doing it for a long time and he's done a great job. But that is the purpose of this channel, to be honest. I want to help people learn how to hike, learn how to reconnect with nature, and share my experiences of what I've done in those areas, how I've done some of that. Still on the path, right? Still learning, and still going to be on the road and hiking and finding new places, but also to generate income from YouTube and products and things eventually to fund those very things. I mean, my goal is to be retired in years to come and have a nice little van set up and a little four-wheel, off-road 4x4 trailer teardrop, and be able to camp wherever I want, move in and out, understand how to do this, live small and live cheap and keep moving. That's what I like. So I've already done a lot of that work already. And maybe even some things that Eric and those guys didn't do. He lives out of a motorhome. I have a motorhome now. It's not new by any means, but there's a difference between living in a motorhome, a big 32-foot Winnebago, and pulling into parks and paying for that and all the services. And then what we're going to talk about today, which is boondocking. And boondocking, so let's start here. Boondocking, to me, I really thought about this for a minute. What is it exactly? I understand it to be, and I've experienced it to be, free camping or free parking in your car, free sleeping in your car or tent or RV trailer, or you can go out, go there, it's free, and usually it's on public lands of some kind. But it could also be in a Walmart parking lot. So I'm going to include all that free stuff that we can find, different ways to find free overnight, or if you want to spend a month or 2 months or 5 or 10 years cobbling together where you can get the most free camping overnight and long term. And I'm going to start just with what I know, and I know there's going to be more than what I know. And if you want to share that, I really appreciate it in the comments. I am not hiding anything from anybody. I'm trying to build this channel as big as I can, and it is, I want to share as much content as possible that's useful. And all I have is my experiences, but you have yours. So if you want to share some information, questions, or also, suggestions for future videos, like, hey, I had a question about, have you ever done this? Have you been here? Have you done that? I'll see if I can answer it legitimately. So boondocking, free camping, either in your car, tent, RV, generally speaking on public lands, but anywhere that you can do it for free. Okay. The first resource I'm going to give you the resources first that I have used and learned about, and I know there's more. Number one is any government or federal government resources. So we're going to talk about the Forest Service. You can talk about BLM, Bureau of Land Management. I would include Army Corps of Engineers in those are the three that I can think of right now that I have used. And the Forest Service. I'll put the website down below, but what I would do is if you want to find campsites anywhere in the national forests, or know about fire closures or anything like that, they have a very extensive government style, clunky, but very deep website where you can research any fire district, any ranger district, any piece of national forest around the country. And in there, you'll see whether they have dispersed camping, which, let's define that. Dispersed camping is the main way we're going to get free camping using the Forest Service or state forest services. Dispersed camping just means that we're not putting you in a primitive campsite with a fire ring and a table. We're not putting you in a full hookup RV spot with power and water. It's dispersed. So you got a tent and a backpack. You can put a tent down in this area and stay up there. Might be the end of a road. Might be a road that runs along a ridge, depending on the location you're in. Might be the whole forest. Anywhere in the forest. Go ahead, put a tent down. We don't care. I want to put this note real quick. Each one of these things we're going to talk about is unique. So you need to check through these resources and just make phone calls or whatever. Google it. They're all different, although there are some general guidelines about how long you can stay in a place, where you can camp, etc. So in generally speaking, for federal and most state forests as well, if they allow dispersed camping, it's going to be a maximum of 14 days in one spot, and then you got to get up and be out. Okay. Generally speaking, you can just go right to another spot, and that's what a lot of people do if you're doing this full time. So a great example, I spent a summer up in the Black Hills, wanted to hike up there. I had a little 16-foot trailer that I pulled behind my truck, my RV, or my SUV, and I just found national forest sections online, researched it, checked it. Yep, you can disperse camp anywhere in the national forest up here, and started hunting. I drove to the area knowing I'll find something, didn't know where I was going to stay. I got there in the morning. I gave myself an afternoon to drive around and find all the spots. There were 50 of them in different, across the whole forest. So across a 50-mile area. But I found several spots, and I found one way down in the bottom where I wanted to be, on a creek, on a meadow, away from everybody. And I was there for 2 weeks, and it was one of the most awesome spots you could ever find. You couldn't pay for that kind of spot. It was a little meadow at the bottom in the summertime with a breeze blowing, the deer eating grass in the front of your window, drinking my coffee, watching the squirrels with the pine trees blowing. It was awesome. Absolutely free. And I did this intentionally. I knew that down the hill was Sundance, Wyoming, so I could go down there and get the things I needed that I didn't have in my trailer, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, national forest, 14 days. When that 14 days was up, I already had done my scouting, found another spot about 5-10 miles down the road. It was cool too. I went and stayed there. If I really, really wanted to be, I'm tired of being out here without a bathroom and I've got to keep going into town or whatever for this or that, there was a couple actual campgrounds. Now, they didn't have power, primitive sites, but they had a vault toilet and they had a basic shower. Little lakes and things up there that during the summer people come up to, and so I would just go and use those. Or if I wanted to be right there, I just go, I'll pay the $10 for a night, and I'll stay here and take care of business, and I'll find another spot. So that's how I did it. That's how I do it. National states are going to be a little different. I want to make the point that states are going to be. They generally have that 14-day rule, but each state forest may or may not allow. And this goes for federal too. They may or may not allow dispersed camping. If they do, it may be the whole forest. It may be only in the section. It may be only on this road. It may be, down by the river at the turnaround. You can park there, but you can't park here. So all that, you got to kind of find out and check. But in general, you get 14 days, and then you got to move to another location. What is a forest is a whole different question. You can go across Arizona and Nevada, and they'll call it a national forest, but there's not a tree in sight, right? It's just the desert with scrub and rocks. But it is technically a piece of land owned by the federal government, which they grabbed up, called it a national forest, so they could get those mineral rights. And in doing so, it triggers this ability to use it as a public land. And in general, especially way out there where there's a lot of space and not a lot of people, they don't care what you do. As long as you go out there and you don't do anything against the rules, you can camp out there for 14 days at a time and move about. So it's fairly easy if you're okay with the inconveniences of living van life, which if you're listening to this, you probably are cool with that or want to try it, to find enough free spots to just keep moving. If you want to be in a certain area, I want to be around the Gila Wilderness in New Mexico. So, pardon my frog here. So I'm going to find all the spots around that area and set up a little route where I can, stay 2 weeks, stay 2 weeks, stay 2 weeks, maybe come back to the first one, stay 2 weeks, find another one. That's pretty easy to do in those places because there's a lot of wilderness and there's a lot of open land. Not all beautiful lands. A lot of dirt, a lot of rocks. Nevada looks like the moon. Parts of Arizona and New Mexico look like hell. But, there's a lot of places out there. So national forests, state forests, BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, which is another department of the government. Usually very desolate cow pastures. But I found some really cool spots for free that nobody even knows about. Down by Tucson, I found a spot under a rock outcropping in the desert. Everything was cactus this tall, and then cows in there somewhere. Never saw them. I heard them all night. But I pulled in my little SUV, opened the hatch, got my sleeping bag out, had one of the most incredible under the moon desert nights I've ever had. And I could have stayed there for 2 weeks. I found several spots like that across the desert where it's just like awesome, free. And I found all that through the means that we're talking about, either on the website or the apps we're going to talk about. So there you go. Army Corps of Engineers, they may have some properties. There's fewer in number, but they do have properties where they've done their work and they'll set up a few campsites that are usually primitive. Might have a little cost for that, $8 to $10. That might have changed. It might have gone up, but that's what it was when I was doing it a few years back. But reasonable, very cheap, usually well kept. A lot of these places, because they're free or close to free, are going to be sometimes hard to get, especially on the weekends. If you're driving in on a weekend, you're going to be prepared for the local people to have already known about that spot and taken it. But during the week or in further out places, it's generally pretty easy to get a free spot. And they're just everywhere. Okay. Some of the other things to think about besides the government options in public lands is things like Walmart parking lot. We've all heard of that. Walmarts don't do this as easily as they used to. Many of them don't allow overnight parking, but many still do. And you just got to kind of feel it out when you pull it. I've done many road trips and I'll pull into it and think, I need a spot. Didn't find a national forest. There's no forest around here. And this works pretty well more often in a city, right? In a urban area. I'm not going to pull into an open, empty dirt road. It might, who knows who's going to be down there during the night in a city. But you might say, well, this part of the town looks pretty good. There's a couple of Walmarts. I'm going to go check it out. Pull into the Walmart. There's a bunch of semi-trucks pulled in there at night. They've got their engines running. And you're like, okay, they're parking here. I might park there. And what I also do most often is I will go into the store and just say, hey, talk to the manager. Can I speak to the manager? I'm here for a night. Might be here tomorrow night too. I'm traveling. I'm stopping for a day, doing some hiking, whatever. Is it allowed to park out there with the trucks? Yes, it is. No problem. Just thanks for letting us know. And that's it. I've never had him say anything else. Now they could. I have pulled into some Walmarts and there's signs everywhere that says no overnight parking, no matter what. So they don't even allow the semis to come in there, truck drivers. So, but a lot of RVs or a lot of Walmarts you'll pull into and see RV guys everywhere, and they're living there during the day and during the night. And that is the problem. They overuse it, they abuse it. But if they allow it, you can find free parking at Walmart. In the South, we have Cracker Barrels, Cracker Barrel's kind of set up for travelers too. It's smaller areas, so if less space available. But if they got a space, you generally can pop in there with the semis at night and have a free spot to camp, to park. The other free things that everybody probably knows about, but they're there, are truck stops. Flying J loves big truck stops like that all along the main interstates and some of the smaller highways. One, they have showers and they have bathrooms, right? You can get a shower with your own little bathroom for $20 now, probably. It used to be 10, but I would guess it's 15 to $20 now. But those are available, and they usually have free parking somewhere around there that you can just pull in for the night and sleep, because that's what they're there for. Rest stops are an obvious one. Not all rest stops are the same. They may have a rule that you can only sleep for 6 hours and that's it. That's the case down here in Florida, a lot of places, because we're so overpopulated and there's so many migrants and homeless people down here that they don't want people just living at the rest stop. But you can do that basically in most of the country. There's a great rest stop welcome center west of Mobile going into Mississippi. Their welcome center there is incredible. It's just incredible facility. Clean, beautiful, new, tons of space to park. I parked in there every night for 3 months while working in Mobile. Never had to get a hotel, never had to rent a house, because I could just drive up there. My bed was in my car, in my trailer, and pop in there after dark. It was cool in the winter, so I could do that. And they have security. The guy saw me every night. He was like, hey, man. So everything was cool. It depends on the vibe. It depends on the rules, right? You got to check that out. Make sure you're aware of that if you care, to not be awoken in the middle of the night by the police knocking on your window or something else, right? Rest stops, truck stops. And there are other things you find along the way. Fairgrounds, city parks, county parks may have free or very cheap, even RV hookups. I found several places across Arkansas and Texas. Texas is really great. On the byways of the countryside, they have little turnouts for sleeping. They're just called rest sleep spots or something like that. Not rest stop, but something similar. And they usually have a little fire pits, couple little primitive campsites with a shelter, and you can picnic during the day and sleep there during the night. If you stay there more than a night, maybe two, the sheriff shows up and goes, hey man, you've been here a while, or when are you heading out? That's what happens. But they've got them all over the place. Every 50 miles or so you can find one. So you could just go up the road and stay in there again. If you wanted to stay in the Texas-Cal area for a summer, which there's not much to do. So you don't really end up staying. That's what happens. But it's available. Arkansas, same thing. Found a city park that had RV hookups that were generally used in the summer. Kansas, I found the same thing for rodeos or for fairs or for football games. And then when it's off season or when nobody's there, they charge like $10 for a full RV hookup. I mean, that's unheard of. Now that I've used RVs and needed a hookup for a long time now, I realize they're very expensive in most places. So $10 is what I paid, and they didn't have a limit on how long you could stay. You could stay there for 3 months if you want to. You could live there if you wanted. They might have some rules that, well, after 3 months you got to relocate and then come back in 30 days, something like that. So find another one. That's all over the country. It's not everywhere, but it could be anywhere, I guess is my point. And it's worth calling city municipals or checking them out online, or county parks, and seeing, do you guys have any RV hookup spots, any tent spots, any dispersed camping? And of course, if it's a city, they probably won't, but it's worth checking out. That's how you do it. You use these resources to do that. So there you go. There's a lot of resources there for boondocking, free camping. Some things to think about when you're boondocking. I'll just kind of end it with this. When you're driving into a spot, be careful. A lot of us out there doing this are awesome, normal people. I consider myself that, but there's a lot of also sketchy people out there. There's sketchy people just everywhere, right? On the road, every campground. But especially if you're kind of finding the corners of the world that are free, and people that don't have any money are living there because that's why they need the free. And some of them might be sketchy, might be mentally ill, might be criminals running from the law. I'll give you a great example. This happened to me while through hiking, which is kind of a similar kind of lifestyle. You're on a trail, you're on a road, you pass people, you might end up sharing a shelter for the night. I was in the middle of the forest, I think it was Ocala, and no, Osceola Forest, which is a national forest up to the north of Florida. Pouring rain, I was walking through water all day, it was just miserable. And I'm trying to get to a shelter that I have on my map, okay? And usually these are empty. Most people aren't out there walking in the rain, hiking the Florida Trail. It's miserable. So for the most part, I never saw many people. Occasionally you might hike with them for a while, talk to them, but I mind my business and do my thing. Well, I arrived here and there was a guy there. He was already set up with his tent. Hey man, welcome, man. Hey man, okay, cool. Immediately I got a really weird vibe from this guy, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put my tent over here, and hey, nice to meet you. You know, if I make a fire, you're welcome to sit around it because it's cold, but other than that, I want to keep to myself, right? Well, in the process of doing that day and night, and the next morning, he tells me, where are you coming from? What are you doing? And I said, I'm hiking the trail. You hiking the trail? He's like, oh, no, I'm not hiking the trail. I said, well, what are you doing out here 30 miles into the woods away from everything? How long you been out here? Oh, I've been out here for 4 months. And we're talking, so 4 months if it was January. So he was there since he came in right when it started to cool down. So he'd been there all winter. Oh, okay. First of all, you're not supposed to be there for 4 months, but that shows you they don't always check. And he was running from the law from New York. He'd fled the state. Didn't tell me why. It was something bad enough that he's like, I got to run the rest of my life, man. I got to hide in the woods, and you can live in here forever. And I was like, yep, got to go. You know, you never know who you're talking to, and you just got to be careful. I mean, I don't know that guy. I'm not saying he's evil. I'm just saying there's a bad vibe. There's sketchy background, and you never know who you're parked next to on a dirt road where there's dispersed camping or you're tenting next to. So my general rule is always keep to yourself, but also leave no trace. Very common hiker worldview. Don't take anything in that you're not going to take out. Don't leave any trash. Don't leave any plastic. If you can, clean up what somebody else left behind. Take that with you. Don't crap in the woods. Don't leave toilet paper strung out. You know, use your brain. Be clean. Be quiet. Be respectful of others and the noise levels. And don't make noise at night. Don't turn your generators on at night. That's a huge no-no for RV parks or just anything around other people. Don't do that. Don't be that guy or girl. We need to keep this option available as long as we can. And a lot of the places in the country that this is no longer legal or available is, you know, California, for example. They want to get rid of it completely because to a degree, there's a reason. There's a lot of problem people out there that don't respect it. I mean, you've all been there. You go to the any campground or ski thing or whatever, and people just end of the road where kids are coming out and four-wheeling on the weekends and drinking beer, and they tear everything up, trash everywhere, condoms everywhere. I mean, it's just horrible. So if you think about that going in, that's something you got to really apply. Safety, respect for others. Some people might be thinking about whether you need a weapon or not. That's up to you. I totally agree with the Second Amendment. Respect that. Of course, if you have a weapon and a firearm, and you've assumedly got that legally and know how to use it and know the laws, but don't be stupid and carry a gun across state lines on accident. You might be up in the woods. On one side of the mountain, it's Wyoming, and on the other side, it's South Dakota. So be aware of those laws. I don't know those laws, but just be aware. You don't want to get yourself into a situation just from a random stupid mistake. Be safe. But you may need, people do carry weapons. I always have a knife and I have a big sledgehammer in my truck, in my trailer by the door in case somebody comes in at night, knocking on the side of the wall, and they have. Or if you're in the middle of the woods and you got a great campsite and you accidentally parked, literally when you wake up in the morning, you parked in the graveyard of all of the mountain lions kills. I woke up and there's bones everywhere right where I parked my trailer. And all night long, I was harassed by a mountain lion. He was on top of my trailer trying to get in my food. And I know it was a mountain lion. Terrifying. Woke me up with this kind of feeling like, I don't know why I'm awake, but I'm terrified. And then I could hear this cat prowling around. And in the morning, and there's the big paws. And I thought, well, of course, I'm sitting right in his dinner table because there were cattle bones and deer bones everywhere. And I just didn't see it when I came in at night. It was dark. So anyway, that's why if you're in areas that you shouldn't be in a tent and there's mountain lions and wolves and bears, and there are all over New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, South Dakota, Idaho, Montana, there's real animals out there that can hurt you. So be aware of that kind of stuff. But the humans can hurt you worse. So be careful. And that's kind of the end of my video about boondocking and free van life. Lots of free resources out there, guys. Another one, I'll put another one here. I guess I would consider this part of it too. A lot of retired people and a lot of van life people utilize camp hosting or volunteering for national parks, forest ranger park, Forest Service, state parks, all of that. I've done that too, where you go and trade your time and do some work for them for the park, and they give you a free campsite. Usually, well, it's always different, but I mean, the one I would always want to get is some kind of hookup, right? And I did that down here right when I started this process, before I could transition out of working full-time playing music to the road. I wanted to get somewhere where I could eliminate my rent first. I realized that you could do camp hosting and volunteering and trade out your time and get a basically free rent, right? And I found a guy who sold me an RV for $500. I was like, okay, I bought that. He towed it over to the park for me, Alafia River State Park. It's a state park. I called the ranger and I said, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing. Actually, I had called the year before, even before I knew how to get doing this. I was starting my research. And he said, yeah, man, when you get an RV, give me a call. So I did. And he said, well, we need somebody to mow the lawns. And the lawn out there is acres and acres and acres of grass, just flat grass. It's an old lithium mine, and they use it for mountain biking trails now. But there's big pastures of open grass, and in Florida, the grass grows overnight. So they needed somebody to just be on that thing 3 or 4 days a week, 3 or 4 hours a day, just keeping the grass down and taking the weed whacker and going up and down the roads and filling in holes and things like that. I was like, well, I'm doing gigs. I'm in town, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Probably not going to be able to, get home at 2 a.m. and get up and mow lawns, but what's the schedule like? And he said, hey, man, as long as you get it done in the week and you give us about 15 hours a week, if you can get it done, you can schedule it anytime you want. Don't even have to see me. Don't have to talk to me. There's no time cards or nothing. And that ranger is a friend of mine to this day. I need to give him a call. Great experience there. I was there for 2 years. 2 years free rent, still working in town, saving up my money, learning how to do this to get on the road and do what we're talking about. So I started with volunteering. Camp hosting is volunteering. Usually you'll see an older couple, but it doesn't have to be. Somebody in their RV or their trailer, they give them a spot and they stay there during the summer season or for years sometimes. They're the person that kind of runs things, manages things, checks people in, checks people out, cuts the firewood, delivers, picks up the trash, whatever the jobs are. But there's also a lot of times these parks need 3 or 4 volunteers, 5, 6. We had people would come and go. They'd stay for a month or 2 and then be gone, but I was there for 2 years. And I said, I just want to mow lawns. I don't want to clean bathrooms. I would have, but I didn't want to. I was like, I love mowing lawns. Just put me on that big Dixie chopper, 0 turn, and I'll put my headphones on, listen to music, and just go. And that's what I did. So it was good exercise. Traded out. I got free electricity, free sewage, my own little hookup beside the utility shop, away from everybody, all the tourists, away from anybody else. There was a shower in that shop. I got to use the tools of the shop. It was great. And it's some good, very, very great people there at Alafia River. So anyway, that's another way to do it, camp hosting. National parks are the big target for retirees that do this. But they're harder to get the positions because they're obviously more popular. If you want to be parked in Zion, that's pretty cool. but you can find any little state park around the country. I found one in Texas that was some kind of military field, site of a battle. I don't even know what the battle was, never heard of it. I randomly found it driving down an old road on my maps. And the guy's like, yeah, we're a state park, and yeah, we need to volunteer, and yeah, you can stay, and it's great. It's great. So that's another real big resource for if you want to trade out some time. Now, there's one further step, which is, can those positions in those volunteer camp host positions pay you? And some of them can. It's harder to find. I'll put this as a resource. This is completely a tangent from free camping, but kind of related to van life. You still need income. You still need money in the bank and or money coming in every month to pay your basics. And so what the dream is can you find a little spot where you could trade out some time and get paid, right? And get a spot. But those are harder to find, but they are out there. Occasionally, the Forest Service will have a paid position, but generally they utilize volunteers. But you can find work jobs, work camping jobs, what I'm trying to say. I think workcamping.com is still up. It's a big organization that helps mainly retirees, but anybody that wants to be working on the road out of their RV and find these different locations and move about. Coolworks.com is a good one. I believe it's spelled COOL works, WORKS, I believe. And that one's still a great resource. And that's something that'll include if you want to work in Alaska as a sous chef, for the summer of 2027, and you want to be in the food services, and you want to just be a bartender up there or whatever, and you got things, you're looking for a job, but in this particular area, you'll find it. I mean, they're on there. But they also have other odd things. I found a guy on there. I wish I could have done it. I found a guy on there looking at Alaska. I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I've never gotten up there yet. And I thought, man, I'd love some kind of remote way out. I'm ready to do that. This guy had an ad on there, and I called him, and we talked, and he literally had a fur line. So he hunts fox and mink and everything, beaver, and he has a cabin way the hell up there, and during the winter, he needed somebody to maintain the cabin and check the fur lines. And he would pay you. I think it was like a minimum wage, and it wasn't enough. That was a problem. But he said, hey, man, you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I think so. He goes, it's brutal up there, but if you don't need experience, I'll teach you what you need to know, how to get the firewood and how to get the water, and I'll teach you all that, teach you to do the trap lines. And I was like, what? I can't believe I found this guy on the internet. And he was willing to let me go live up there for the year and check his trap lines, and pay me. It wasn't a lot. Now, if I had a couple thousand coming in and some money in the bank, and I was like, this is a venture, I want to try this, I probably would have done it. I just didn't have enough funds to get up there and do all that the way it was set up. But I found that on Coolworks. And so you can find all kinds of crazy things. Just a regular little gift shop job at Zion Park or something like that. So coolworks.com is another good one. Check out freecampsites.net. That's a big one for the free stuff that we talked about. Campendium is an app that I use. It's great. Freecampsites.net is awesome, by the way. Campendium. The Forest Service website. Any state, county, city websites may have some maps. forestservice.gov, I think it is, but I'll put the link. You can download every map of every national forest in the country. All the roads, all the campsite information is there. You'll have ranger contact information, fire district, fire ranger contact information. If you want to just show up at the local Forest Service office, I did that in the Gila. I just found it, went in and met a girl there. It was awesome. We stayed in touch for years. Told her what I was doing. She's like, oh, it's freaking awesome. You're gonna be boondocking and hiking the Gila. And so whenever I would need some help, like, hey man, is there anything in town that the Mexican food or whatever? And she's, oh yeah, there's great Mexican food. Don't go to this place, go to that place. So you make little contacts, through the Forest Service. It was awesome. And they always have tons of maps. So you get a map of the areas you're hiking or you're traveling, you're boondocking, you get good inside information. Don't go down that section of the road because there's some sketchy people living down there. So they know all this. So it's great. Water sources, where can you get water? Oh, there's a spigot out there. You can come anytime you want. So you find those things and you set up your little routine. And if you're going to be there for the summer or a year, or maybe you've got a route that goes all the way from North Idaho down to Tucson and back, and you spend your summers, in cooler places and so forth. A good rule of thumb is as it gets hotter, you go higher out west. You get up to the top of the mountains, it's cooler, even in the desert. So, the more you do this, the more you'll learn this. You'll meet some people that know what's going on in those areas. They're going to give you helpful information and tips like don't go there, try this, do that. It's very similar to the hiking community. That's what we do on trail, We help each other out. You pass somebody on the road, you might hike with them for a week, and you start talking to them like, hey man, up at this thing, man, don't go to that store. Take a right and go down there, and for $10 you can get all you can eat, Oh, well, thanks, man. I would have never known that. Hey, I blew out my freaking trekking pole broke. Oh, I got an extra in my pack. So things like that. It's the same kind of thing on that community of van life and nomad life. Just be careful, because you don't know who you're nomading with. But once you can vet somebody and you get to know they're cool people, you build a lot of friendships. And then you start to realize this is pretty cool and very easy to plug in all these different possibilities. I take a road trip from here to California today. I'm going to open up Campendium and look for free spots. I'm going to look freecampsites.net. I'm going to find free spots. I'm going to just go on Google Maps or Apple Maps and find all the Walmarts. I'm going to find any city, county, municipals. If I'm out west, I'm going to use any of those things or the Forest Service maps to find the national forests. And if I feel like, man, I really want to disperse camp up here for the summer, I wonder if you can, I'm going to call Ranger Joe and talk to him. That's how you do it. So there you go. Some of the things about gear and some of the things about safety, some of the things about how to find these things, some things to think about. You can do this. It's awesome. And the last thing is do this because you need to, but also just do it because I really believe it's freedom. And freedom from the economic machine we live in is, we all need that healthy upgrade. Get to nature, get out, even if it's just traveling a little bit, seeing some places. Our country in the United States is enormous, much bigger than people realize. And if you haven't been out west, you haven't seen the country. You're not truly an American until you get out there. And when you're out west, it's just an endless amount of things to see. Endless. I've driven all over it, and I'm still ready to go drive all over it again, and I know I haven't seen a tenth of it. So, you want to go see the Grand Canyon, you can go stay at the expensive RV parks, or you can go, you know what, I'll put a little effort in and see if I can find a national forest around there. There is one. And find some free camping spots. I did. And you can hike the Grand Canyon or visit the Grand Canyon and take all the photos you want for free. And that's, to me, more challenging, but more fun and rewarding to put something like that together. My life is compact. I get up in the morning, I turn on the key, and I go. I don't got to worry about mortgage. I don't got to worry about HOAs. I don't got to worry about any of that crap. I don't have to stay in one spot if I don't like it. I'm gone. If this guy's irritating me, I'm gone. And I'm on to the next awesome spot that nobody's found before, unless they're like me and you. So enjoy boondocking, van life. Leave comments, please, of suggestions. This is just my best effort at making a YouTube video. I don't have a fancy studio, but comments, suggestions about future videos. If you got some other ideas about hiking, camping, van life, and reconnecting to nature to kind of heal ourselves, especially for recovery. We haven't gone into recovery in this video, but that's a big part of my life. And getting over the alcohol, getting over the addictions, nature really can help with that. So if you have comments on that, suggestions on that, resources you want to share, I'm trying to build this thing and make some money with this channel so that I can fund this life. The life creates the channel, which funds the life. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I will do. And with your help, and hopefully through good information that's helpful to you. Okay, this is Sean. We'll see you later, No Matter Recovery. Have a good one.